Hey guys, welcome to 5 Minute Classes, wherein today we'll be learning about 4 variable K-maps. If you want to know more about 3 variable K-maps, you can click the link that's popping up right now in the cards. You'll be redirected there. So without any further ado, let's get started. So let me consider this particular function wherein I have minterms and the don't cares which are given by w, x, y and z. So the first and the foremost step, as I've said in my previous video while drawing a K-map, is to know how many cells my K-map is going to consist of. So in this case, I have 4 variables. So 2 power n is the number of cells that I'm going to have, where n is 4, so I have 16 cells within my K-map. So let me draw my 16 cell K-map. This is how it's going to look like. So once I've done this now, let me split the functions wx, yz as wx along the vertical, yz along the horizontal. So once I've done this, let me number this as 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, similarly 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. Now I've said this before, 0 indicates the complement of the particular variable, whereas 1 indicates the variable itself. Meaning I'll have w bar, w bar x, wx and wx bar. Similarly, I'll have y bar, z, y bar, z, yz, yz bar. So if you can see in this case I have 0, so complement of w, 1 which is the variable itself, which is x. Similarly, I have written all of these variables. So once I've done that, let me number the cells within my K-map corresponding to the minterms where they're supposed to be. So in a 4 variable K-map it's done like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So now that I've numbered the cells within my K-map, let me plot these minterms onto the K-map which are given to me in the function. So as you can see in this particular question, I have minterms in 0, 2, 5, 7, 8, 10 and 15. So in these particular cells, I have the minterms according to the question. Now once I've written down the minterms, let me move to the don't cares. Now I explained what don't cares is in the video of the 3 variable K-map, which you can check out, where I mentioned that don't cares are basically variables that can take the value of 0 or 1, and it's up to us what value we want to assign to them. So let me mark the don't care in cell number 13. So now my K-map is complete. Let me mark zeros in the vacant cells indicating the absence of any element there. So now that I've done this, let me group the elements within the K-map. Now again, if you want to know how the grouping is done, you can watch my previous video where I've explained in detail how we can group the adjacent cells, as well as how when we overlap the cells we get groupings. So in this case, also these two are zeros. So in this case, what I'll do is let me consider this particular quad. As you can see, these 4 1 cells are adjacent to one another. This is horizontally adjacent, this is vertically adjacent, vertical, horizontal. So I can form a quad consisting of these. That is, if I consider the value of this don't care as 1. So now let me consider the value of this don't care as 1 and form this particular quad. Now if I look for more combinations, you would observe that I have ones in the 4 corner of the K-maps. So of the K-map, which means I can group these 4 1 cells, because when I fold the K-map along, let's say, this axis, you would be able to see that this cell overlaps with this overlaps with this. Also, now once that is done, if I fold it along this axis, now you would see this overlaps with this as well as this overlaps with this. Meaning all of these 4 1 cells are adjacent to one another, which means I can form a quad consisting of these 4 1 cells. So now, as you can see, I've formed the grouping. I've made groupings of all the possible ones in the K-map. So now let me find the output expressions. So let me consider this particular quad first. Now, as you can see, when I'm moving from this cell to this one, my x is constant, whereas w is changing from 0 to 1, which means I'll eliminate w and consider just x, which is x, and I have 1, which means I'll have the variable itself, which is x, as the output expression. If you consider when I'm moving horizontally, as you can see, when I move from this cell to this cell, y is changing from 0 to 1, whereas z is constant, both ones, which means I'll have x into z as the output expression for this particular quad. Now if I consider the quad, which is consisting of all the corner elements, as you can see, if you move from this cell to this cell, I have W value changing from 0 to 1, whereas X is 0. So X being 0 is a complement of X, which is X bar, into, if I see the horizontal element, now if I'm moving from this element to this one, as you can see, my Y is changing from 0 to 1, whereas Z is constant, which is 0. So I'll have Z 0, which means Z complement, which is X bar Z bar. So the final output expression for this particular K-map is XZ plus X bar Z bar. So I hope you've understood how to go about problems related to 4 variable K-maps and how to form the groups and find the output expressions. If you have any suggestions or feedback or any doubts, please leave them in the comment section down below and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching and please stay tuned for more.